Bladesmiths, welcome to the forge. On top of your guys' anvils, you see you have stacks of 1095 and 15N20 steel. You'll be using that steel to build Damascus blades, but not your signature style blades. I want you guys to build this. This is a 9-foot dagger.
This isn't enough steel.
Yeah.
So now, before you guys throw your hands up and you walk away, let me be a little bit more specific. We want you to build a 1/5 scale replica of this blade. So break out your calculators, break out those measuring tapes. Every aspect of this knife needs to be scaled down 5 times. Good luck. Your time starts now.
We're doing a Damascus blade. That's a lot of material, and I gotta get it up to temperature. So I'm gonna get that stuff cleaned up, get it in the forge, and then, when I've got that downtime, I'll go take all the measurements off that big old knife. I want something to stand apart, so I'm gonna do a ladder pattern.
James is going above and beyond. He really wants to present something other than what the rest are doing, just a Damascus.
I'm trying to get a nice even heat, and I like to use a magnet.
Once you hit non-magnetic and just get a little bit past that, you're usually okay for most steels.
Perfect.
James is
There we go.
Welding! Now that I've got my billet together, I take a moment, get my measurements. I got this steel drawn out. I prefer forge to finish because if you hand hammer it as much as you can into shape and then go to quench, it kind of tends to avoid having as much warpage.
Commit to it. There you go.
All right.
Leave it in there.
Okay. Did Lyle use all of his steel?
It doesn't look like it.
I don't think so.
They give me a lot of steel. It's more of a trip up, I think. They want you to spend more time cleaning and welding and drawing out when you're gonna end up cutting most of that steel away. I measure the blade, and I end up coming up with 2.5 inches wide by 12.1 long.
The blade's 75 inches.
75 divided by 5, you got,
15-inch blade.
and shoulders at about 2.5.
Now that I got my steel where I want it, I start grinding in my bevels. I leave it thick because with a chop, I want to keep it as thick as I possibly can. But it's also a dagger, so you need to have that diamond shape on both sides. I've been at the grinder a long time.
This is a really good time to quench. Then do your grinding.
There's a quench.
If it's not heated right, it could crack or damage your blade. As soon as I pull that blade out of the oil, it's straight. I'm very happy with how it quenched.
Lyle's blade, to me, looks shorter than any other blade out there. Paul's blade looks too thin in profile to me.
3, 2, 1. Turn off your machines. This round is over. All right, guys, congratulations. You've made it through round 1, which means you're going into round 2 where you're adding handles to your blades, turning them into fully functioning weapons. Good luck. Your time starts now.
For the guard, I'm going brass instead of steel. Going after a steel guard will likely take twice as long to route out. I got my guard drilled out and in pretty good shape. Now it's time for the ash to turn into the handle. I have to go back to the drill and work the drill bit back and forth a little bit to open up the hole inside the wood, as it'll help secure the handle. So I'm working on my pommel. I'm trying to peen the end on. I finally get the peen to take pretty well, but it's still a little loose, which could be enough to send me home.
I find the 2 biggest pieces of brass that I can, and I cut out the shapes that I need roughly. Time is just running away from me here. I don't actually have a handle yet. I gotta get a move on it. I'm just praying to the knife gods that I don't pop this piece of handle material open because I don't have time to make another one. This is it. I get my holes drilled finally. This wave of relief just washes over me, but I haven't got time to feel grateful. I gotta move. I don't have time to thread the pommel. I don't have time to thread the tang. I don't have any time for that anymore.
Gas is on.
I decide that I'm gonna weld around the back of my tang. You run the risk of heating up the tang so much that you actually set the wood and/or epoxy on fire.
And good enough is good enough, gentlemen.
Now that I got measurements, I need to move on to my handle. I'm spending time trying to get it milled out, getting a nice tight fit without splitting my wood.
Can you tell me what Lyle's working on?
Yeah, Lyle's cutting out his material for his handle.
The wild bladesmith doing its mating call. All right, Lyle's putting a thread on his tang.
Once I get the pommel threaded on, I realize that the tang's too long. The last thing I want is my tang to break off in testing. After I cut it, put it all together, and I had a nice tight fit. I wish I could take more time to make things nicer, but I just don't have the time to do that. So at this point, I'm gonna put 2 pins in the handle just for extra precaution. That way I know it's not gonna come apart. I could crack the handle or the bit won't go all the way through, and then I have a hole in my handle and I can't get a pin in it. Holes go through it and I'm just super excited because now I can start sharpening my knife.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Turn off your machines, put down your tools. This round is over.
Welcome to our strength test, our giant skull chop. And just to make you guys feel a little bit more relaxed, these are some of the biggest skulls I've ever chopped into. Now I'm gonna take your daggers, stab and smash into these skulls repeatedly. Lyle, you're up first. You ready to go?
Yes, sir.
Hey, Lyle, you survived. Good job. Your edge held up great. Your handle and guard, they're kind of cocked off to the side, not quite in alignment, but nothing came loose. Good job.
Thank you.
Ben, it's always fun for the second guy, isn't it?
Just do it, man. I still have a knife.
Well, Ben, you survived. We do have a few issues. We've got the gapping down here, but it didn't affect anything, fortunately. One thing that is an issue is you've got some serious chipping right here on the one side. But the blade's in one piece. Good job.
Thank you.
What are you thinking, James?
This is what we're here for, right?
Well, that's what I'm here for, I know that. You made it, James. You survived. Your blade edge, you didn't lose anything. It still feels very sharp. Only thing is your pommel is a little bit loose, but it still feels secure. Good job.
Thank you.
All right, bladesmiths, this is the sharpness test, the sugarcane slice. Now, in this particular test, I will take your scaled down daggers and try to cut through these sugar canes. Now, unlike the strength test, this is all about what your edges do to the sugar cane. Lyle, you're up first. You ready for this?
Yes, sir.
All right, Lyle, let's talk about your weapon here. Your edges over here, while this is an obtuse grind, actually cut very cleanly. Overall, sir, your weapon will cut.
Thank you.
Ben, your turn, sir. You ready?
Absolutely.
All right, Ben, let's talk about your blade here. On one side of the blade, it cuts cleanly on the sugar canes. But right here on the spot that you actually have the jagged chips, it actually ripped the sugar cane. But overall, sir, it will cut.
Thank you.
All right, James, your turn. So you ready?
Slice it up.
Sweet. All right, James, let's talk about your blade here. This has a sweet feel in the balance you have created with this particular blade. The only thing is the pommels still got a little bit loose, but that was already there prior to this test. It is sharp, and most importantly, sir, it will cut.
Bladesmiths, you gave us some great work here, but our judges have made a decision, and the bladesmith leaving the forge is Ben.
Ben, this came down to basically two things: the damage on your blade, which was the only blade that took damage, and the fit up between your guard and pommel.
I understand.
Ben, I want to say thank you for coming out, but unfortunately, I'm gonna have to ask you to leave the forge.
Thanks, guys.
Well done, man.
I'm disappointed, because of course I wanted to see it through to the end, man. I'm sure that the edge of the blade that got chipped got hotter than the rest of it. When it was quenched, it was just more brittle.